My 14-year-old nephew bullies me constantly, and my family refuses to do anything about it. I have a 14-year-old nephew who seems to have made it his life's mission to torment me. I know that sounds dramatic, but after years of enduring his antics with zero consequences from his parents, I don't know how else to put it. I've reached a breaking point where I genuinely don't know how to be around him anymore. He's the second child, and honestly, his older brother is great. Polite, well-mannered, and actually enjoyable to be around. I think that's part of the problem. It's like my nephew knows he'll never be the favorite. So instead of even trying, he just leans into being an obnoxious contrarian because he thinks it makes him stand out. For years, he's made it a game to mess with me at every family gathering. At first, it was minor, dumb pranks, being a little too rough when play wrestling. But then it escalated. Within the last 6 years, he has punched me in the balls twice. Not by accident, not in some playful, oops, didn't mean to kind of way. Straight up intentional nut shots in front of everyone at family events. The first time it happened, I instinctively yelled, "You little bastard," because, well, I was writhing in pain. Instead of disciplining him, my sister and her husband got mad at me for calling him that. He faced no consequences. The second time, a couple of years later, my family actually made him apologize. But he refused. He just stood there smirking until the topic changed, and ultimately, he never got in trouble. After that, I knew I was on my own. Since then, I've learned to brace for impact anytime he's near me. He's constantly pretending to punch me in the balls just to watch me flinch. He thinks it's hilarious. If I try to tell him to stop, he just laughs and doubles down. Even beyond that, he's just relentless. He'll shoot me in the face with Nerf bullets when I tell him to stop. If we're playing a casual game at a family event, he'll intentionally try to bean me with a ball as hard as he can. If I'm sitting and minding my own business, he'll randomly throw something at me. I know it sounds like dumb kid stuff, but when it's constant and targeted, it stops feeling innocent. I literally have to assess the room at every family gathering like I'm a bodyguard trying to predict an attack. If he sees an opening, he'll take it. And it's exhausting. He has zero respect for anything. He'll rub up against my mom's delicate Christmas ornaments, swat at her fragile decorations, and my parents just stand there refusing to intervene because they want to remain neutral toward all their kids and grandkids. His parents don't do anything either. If they acknowledge his behavior at all, it's with a half-hearted stop that before going right back to whatever they were doing. If I call him out, I'm being too harsh. If I try to ignore him, he escalates. If I snap, I'm suddenly the bad guy for picking on a kid. I feel like I have no options. He's too young to report to anyone, and my family refuses to acknowledge the problem. If I stopped going to family gatherings altogether, I'd be seen as the one choosing not to be part of the family. But if I keep going, I'm just signing up to be his personal punching bag. I genuinely don't trust myself to stay calm if he does it a third time. I don't want to be the grown adult who punches a teenager, but I also don't want to live in a reality where a 14-year-old can repeatedly assault me with no consequences. I know talking it out isn't realistic. He likes getting a reaction. I've tried removing myself from situations, but in a small house during family gatherings, it's nearly impossible. I feel trapped in this no-win situation where I either have to endure his abuse or cut off my family entirely. Has anyone dealt with something like this? How do you make a family take you seriously when they refuse to acknowledge a problem? No, my custom Pokémon plush isn't for sale. This happened a few months ago at a small local convention. I am a massive Pokémon fan, and I've been collecting plushies for years. One of my absolute pride and joys is a custom-made, hand-sewn Sylveon plush that I commissioned from an artist online. She's larger than most official Pokémon Center plushies, incredibly detailed, and overall, just perfect. Since I knew I'd be cosplaying as a Pokémon trainer for the con, I decided to bring her along as part of my outfit. I should have expected that a convention would be full of Pokémon fans, but I wasn't expecting a full-on negotiation, or the sheer audacity of some people. I was walking around the convention floor, carrying Sylveon in my arms while browsing booths. I noticed a few people admiring her, which I honestly expected. She's unique and stands out compared to the regular plushies people bring. A few people even asked where I got her, and I happily explained she was a custom piece from an artist. Most people were chill about it. Then she arrived. Enter Karen and her entitled kid, EK, maybe 10 years old. The kid spots my plush from a few booths away, beelines toward me, and immediately tries to grab Sylvian out of my arms. I instinctively step back. Me, whoa, careful. She's really delicate. EK, I want it. How much? I blink, assuming he just misunderstood. Me, oh, sorry, she's not for sale. She's a custom piece. The kid whines loudly and turns to his mother. Karen sighs dramatically and steps forward. Karen, listen, I'll give you $50 for it. That's more than enough for a stuffed animal. I actually laughed, thinking she was joking. Me, no, sorry. She's not for sale at any price. She was handmade. Her face instantly shifts from fake politeness to offended disbelief. Karen, $50 is more than fair. It's just a plushie. You probably got it at Walmart or something. He really wants it, and I'd hate for him to be upset over something so silly. I stare at her, actually stunned that this woman thinks she can just buy something from me that I never even offered to sell. Me, I didn't get it at Walmart. I commissioned it. It's one of a kind, and I'm not selling it. At this point, EK is tugging at her sleeve, whining, Mom, I want it. Karen huffs and triples down. Karen, fine, $80. That's way more than it's worth. Now I'm just annoyed. Me, it's literally not for sale. Please stop asking. That's when she changes tactics. While I'm turned slightly away, looking at a vendor's table, this woman reaches over and tries to take Sylvian out of my arms. I yank her back instinctively and take a few steps away. Me, are you serious right now? Karen acts shocked like I'm the one being unreasonable. Karen, you don't have to be so rude. My son just really wants it. I'm fully over it at this point. Me, then maybe you should teach him that he can't always have what he wants, instead of trying to buy things off of random people. At this point, a nearby vendor, bless him, notices what's happening and calls over a staff member. Karen, realizing she's getting attention, scowls at me. Karen, well, you're being a selfish brat. It's just a toy. You probably don't even need it. And with that, she drags her whining kid away, loudly complaining about how some people are so greedy. The vendor who saw everything made sure I was okay, and the staff member told me if they caused more trouble, I should report them. Luckily, I didn't see them again for the rest of the convention. But seriously, who sees something in someone's arms and immediately thinks, I should be able to buy that off them? I'm just glad Sylvian made it home safe and sound, far away from grabby hands. Entitled parents refused to believe I had a concussion, sorry in advance for the long post and any messy writing. I just wanted to get this off my chest. Some much-needed context before I get to the story. Before this happened, I already had a history of at least 2 concussions. The first one happened in middle school after I fell off a swing set mid-swing, and the second after I hit my head on my garage door like a complete dumbass. There were several other instances of head injuries, but not enough to be labeled as full-on concussions. My parents are divorced, and at the time, I was living with my dad full-time since my mom had kicked me out of her house during my freshman year of high school. For several months leading up to this, I had been planning to go to Legoland with my father to celebrate my 18th birthday in January 2024. It was something I was really looking forward to. A little over a year ago, in December 2023, when I was 17, about to turn 18, I was visiting my younger brother, 14 at the time, and my mother for dinner. After dinner, my brother and I had a minor scuffle over who got to sit in the front seat, as siblings do. However, during this little battle, my brother accidentally slammed the car door directly onto the side of my head. For context, my brother rock climbs 6 days a week, and I'm pretty scrawny. So yeah, he hit my head hard. As I went to sit in the back seat, my head started throbbing. During the ride, I mentioned how the car door had hit my head, and my brother straight up refused to acknowledge that he had even touched me, let alone apologize. I was pretty upset about this. When we arrived at my mother's house, I asked her why she didn't do anything about it, but she just brushed it off. Frustrated, I got into my car and drove back to my dad's place. By the time I got there, I was bawling my eyes out. I don't even fully remember why. I just remember being in pain and telling my dad how my brother had accidentally hit me with the car door and refused to apologize. The details get a little fuzzy here, so I don't remember the exact dates of everything. I only vaguely recall going to the doctor and getting diagnosed with a concussion. Since this was December, it was right before finals and my birthday, December 16th. I talked to my school about the concussion, and they were understanding enough to let me freeze my grades and not take any finals. Since I had all A's and a couple of B's, this was a huge relief. They told me to go home and get some rest, no problem. Except there was a problem. Almost immediately, my dad and mom started pressuring me to take the finals so I could raise my B grades. These were my hardest classes, and they saw this as an opportunity. I tried explaining to them that I shouldn't be doing that because I needed rest. If I took the exams while concussed, I could end up doing extremely poorly and tanking my grades. They refused to listen. My dad told me that if I didn't feel well enough to take the finals, I should go to the ER. But at the same time, both parents kept pushing me to do things while I was actively trying to rest. No matter how much I emphasized that I needed to recover, they dismissed me. As a result, I missed my 18th birthday because I was asleep for 17 whole hours. This, along with the fact that it's generally harder to control your emotions after a brain injury, culminated in what I can only describe as a mental breakdown. Late at night, I broke into uncontrollable sobbing in my bed. I texted my dad, telling him I thought I needed to go to the ER in the morning. He came into my room and asked if I was okay, and through tears I told him my head was killing me, and I didn't know what to do. I told him I definitely needed to skip the rest of my finals. His response? If you're not feeling better, we should cancel your birthday trip. This only upset me more because I had been looking forward to that trip for months. He left my room but shortly returned, saying he'd take me to the ER now. I was still sobbing on the way to the hospital. Once we got there, the nurses suggested a CT scan to check for severe brain injury. The scan didn't show anything serious, just a concussion. They told me to take it easy and rest. 2 days later, I went back to school against my better judgment to take my remaining finals, like my parents had insisted. Almost immediately, I got the worst headache of my entire life. I was hunched over my desk, head down in my arms, feeling like my skull was about to explode. I somehow made my way to the nurse, but on the way there, I vomited into a trash can. At this point, I was terrified. My concussed brain vaguely remembered that vomiting could mean a severe concussion, so I panicked. I asked my dad to pick me up and take me to the doctor again. He told me to ask my sister 20 to take me instead. I texted her and she angrily responded saying, "You don't have a concussion. Stop being dramatic." Apparently, my dad had told her over lunch that the CT scan didn't show anything, so I must be faking it. A quick Google search would tell you that concussions don't show up on CT scans, and I distinctly remember the nurses telling me I had a concussion. I confronted my dad about lying to my sister, and his response? I think everyone has had enough of this, as if I was the problem. The worst part? My mother started texting me, threatening to make me pay for the ER visit myself so that I'd go into debt right after turning 18. After all of this, I never got an apology. Not from my brother, not from my dad, not from my sister, and especially not from my mother. To this day, over a year later, they still insist I didn't have a concussion because of that stupid CT scan. And when I got an inner ear infection in November 2024, they accused me of faking it again, until I literally passed out in front of people, forcing them to acknowledge it was real. And the cherry on top of this shit Sunday? A week later at Christmas, my siblings didn't get me anything after I had spent $200 on gifts for them. I hate my entitled family so much. I'm just glad I'm in college now and away from all of them. Comment your thoughts below. Every like and sub helps the channel grow.